What's up? This is H1. We're going to be running it back with another episode talking about chess knowledge, chess wisdom, and chess understanding again. Today, Vidit is going to be showing us how to attack a castled king. Spectacularly too. It was an amazing attack, and this is what happens when you give your opponent a certain amount of initiative that they can form something beautiful over the chessboard. And then you're like looking to yourself like, dang it, why did I do that move? You look at the chess.com game review and it's saying you had 54 missed opportunities, and you're like, bro, I shouldn't even be playing chess anymore. But you have to understand this principle of just not giving your opponent too much leeway. All these forcing moves, you didn't have to give your opponent. Why did you do that? Let's get into it right quick. We are going to be the white pieces. And it started off with this move, c4. Weirdly enough, c4. c4 is coming back into action, especially in this recent Tata Steel tournament. After c4, b6, and where's my stick at? I cannot do a lesson without it. After b6, initiating the fianchetto, bishop going to b7, which in the fianchetto, they usually want to take control of one of the longest diagonals of the chessboard, which is h1 to a8, or this diagonal, a1 to h8. That's the main purpose of the fianchetto structure. c4, b6, d4, controlling the four center squares, where we're not exactly attacking e4, but I don't know. Let's see what his plan is. After d4, a bishop to b7, knight to c3, kind of looks like an Indian game a little bit, huh? If the knight was on f6 maybe, but like this can still transpose into a lot of different type of openings. After d4, knight to c3, we got a3, making sure that bishop does not ever go to the b4 square, pinning that knight to the king on e1. That's why he went ahead and just did knight to f6. After knight to f6, knight to f3, and this is still book, this is still theory, and this knight goes to e4. And this is one of the main moves that black does, especially if they fianchetto with moves like bishop to b7. That bishop is defending the knight, and they're gonna get a knight off the board. Knight takes on e4. We have a bishop takes on e4. And now that bishop is pretty hard to get out of our area. We can do the move knight to d2, but we want to develop the bishop first on c1. That's why Vidit did the move bishop to f4, kind of looking like a London system, but we want to put that pawn back to c3. A little bit more aggressive. With the pawn on c4, we have other options of actually doing d5 early in this position, but let's just follow along with the Grandmaster. Bishop to e7, e3. We're still developing pieces. This is the opening, castle king side. Very solid movements. Bishop to d3, trying to trade more pieces. If the bishop trades with d3, and I'm thinking maybe the computer even liked that trade. Yeah, the computer liked that trade, but Grandmasters, they want to keep the pieces on the board, and when they keep more pieces on the board, they have more options to try to beat the opponent. But the only thing that black didn't know is that white has a 1-point lead already in this position since they moved back. And yeah, that's why computers like trading, and then queen takes on d3, and then it would be black's move again to do another either developing move or hit the center with either c5 or d5, etc. Like they have a hyper modern setup with their pieces, and a hyper modern setup is when they are delaying counterattacking in the center until in the middle game. But they did develop their piece on e7, b7, and they castled the king. The only piece that's not developed on the black side is that knight on b8. I don't know. Hopefully that knight can get out of there, because if it can't, yeah, that's on him. That's on him. All right. After bishop to b7, I don't know why the computer gave that a brilliant move, but I digress. White is still winning. And they decided, well, okay, if you're going to be super passive, I got the center. I got a lot of space. I can either decide if I want to attack on the queen side or on the king side, or keep on pushing in the center. I'm going to try to attack you on the king side. And one good indicator, or one good idea to think about is rushing the h-pawn, rushing up Hector on the king side, especially since they are already castled. They committed to castling pretty early. And, you know, if your opponent commits to castling pretty early, you can think about that and be like, do I really need to castle? And actually, maybe I should consider castling queenside since they considered, since they already did kingside castling, and just start pushing up the pawns on the king side. That is one aggressive strategy that chess players have all the time. After h4, f5, blocking this bishop along this diagonal because bishop takes on h7 can happen at any moment. And every single move, Black had to consider what happens after bishop takes on h7, knight g5, maybe the queen's gonna come to h5. Those were targets. f5, queen e2, and you already know white is castling queenside. And then black wants to trade pieces now. Bishop to d6, really quickly, because I don't think he knew that white was going to try to attack him on the king side. I'm seeing a move like h4 is very scary, like very scary to the normal person. After bishop to e6, knight to e5, which now if bishop takes on a bishop takes knight, you can take with pawn, lock it up, lock the center up, things of that nature. And then plus, you might be thinking, can't this bishop just take on g2? It's a sacrifice. Is it a good sacrifice? I don't know. Let's see. Did he back down? Yep, he backed down. He did not want to capture that pawn because he knew if bishop takes on g2, rook g1 opens up the g file. And once you capture this pawn, white is already committing to a piece attack on the castled king. He decided to develop a piece because come on. Like, if your opponent is super aggressive, the last thing you need is inactive pieces in the position. If your opponent is attacking you, the last thing you need is inactive pieces. This is the best shot. This is it. Queenside castling. After queenside castling, a5. They're trying to get their own attack on the queen side, but come on now. We already know who's faster. Rook g1, and after rook g1, white's plan is very simple. They want to push up to g4. They want to open up the g file and attack this king on g8. With sacrificing this pawn on h4, they can do queen takes on h4. Not very wise because that would open up a whole h file for the white side here. This is how chess works. We push our opponent down. You know, we're basically like kicking the chair underneath them, making sure they know how dominant our position is and how passive the opponent's position is. Rook g1, first mistake. After this mistake, every single move white does is a forcing move. White kept the initiative every single move after this. Because knight takes on e5. What was the top engine move right here? Bishop takes on e5. No. Knight takes on e5. D takes on e5, attacking the bishop. And I'm not even saying that even if they would have did the best move, which was a bishop takes on e5, that doesn't mean that they was out of the waters. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that they wasn't going to face this big attack that was going to happen on the king side. They would still have to defend it. But the sad part is, we are not computers. We are humans. And as a human, when I see a move like rook g1 and g4, I have to do something. We can't just allow our opponent to punk us over the chessboard. D takes on e5. Watch this. Bishop to c5, g4. G4 in the position. G4 in the position. What happens next? Another terrible move. Queen to e7. And this move is what did it for them. I get it, right? Because after queen to e7, maybe black can get a draw in the position with a bishop takes on a3, b takes on a3, queen takes on a3, and then like shuffle the queen around and keep on checking our king. Not that we would even take the bishop if bishop takes on a3, but that could be a potential chance of a draw by the opponent because they know white's pieces are way more activated for this attack on the king than their pieces. There's no open file for black here. After queen to e7, this allowed a forcing move, bishop to g5. Doesn't even give black the time to do bishop takes on a3. Queen had to move back, which was the best move before they did queen to e7. Queen e8, they should have did first. Who would have known that? Like, we don't defend like machines here. Bishop to g5, queen e8, pawn captures, and now black is gonna have to respond to every single one of our moves. E takes on f5, and what are we hitting now? What's the main weaknesses? How can we break through? What are we breaking through? What should we be like? What line should we be clearing here? The only thing that is defending the black king is these two pawns on g7 and h7. These two pawns. Like, we need to get rid of these two pawns. Yeah, I'm gonna start using the stars a lot often. But yeah, we need to start attacking these two pawns. And the best way to do so is either with like bishop to h6 or bishop f6, which white did bishop to f6. After this move, it is completely over. Let me get the stars out of the way. I need y'all to see these pawns. It's gonna get ripped to shreds in the position. Rook f7, protecting it. Only move, literally. And they want to have like a couple extra moves to maybe do like bishop f8, king h8, etc. But the threats just keep on coming, especially with bishop takes on f5, king h8, and then rook takes on g7. Rook takes on g7, sacrificing the rook, but not really a sacrifice, but yeah, we're giving away the rook for a more dominant position. And now with giving away that rook takes on g7, and their pieces are frozen. That rook is frozen, that queen doesn't have any good squares, and these bishops are targeting nothing. Nothing good. This bishop has the whole diagonal. It's actually doing its job as a fianchetto bishop. It's just doing the wrong job. It shouldn't belong there. It needs to be on g8 somewhere, or f7 at least in the position. But after rook takes on g7, oh, this pawn is free now. Since that rook is pinned because of the bishop on f6 that is pinning that rook to the king, we can do rook takes on d7. Queen can't take on d7 because that bishop, that pawn that we've taken on f5 is defending the rook. And so after queen takes on d7, bishop takes on d7, that bishop is still pinning the rook to the king. It's no hope. It's all done. Bishop to f8, and you gotta still try to survive here. If I was going against like a 1500 and I was the black pieces and I was in this weird position and my opponent was dang near playing like a grandmaster, I would just keep on playing just to make sure that they know what they're doing here. After bishop to f8, do y'all want to comment the last move? I'm sorry, I already did the move. Queen g4. After queen g4, black resigned because the best move for black is actually queen takes on d7, which is just giving away your most powerful piece, with this bishop still pinning that rook to the king. That rook cannot capture the queen on g4, cannot capture our lady. And if they do nothing at all, if they do a silly move like bishop to a6, rook takes on g7, bishop takes on g7, queen takes on g7, is checkmate on the board. And yeah, awesome game. I appreciate it. We learned a lot of lessons too. He definitely scared the opponent, and once he gained the initiative, and once he found all the forcing moves, had all the ideas down packed of what he had to do to break through that king side, and then that one sacrifice just to tip everything over the edge, that rook takes on g7, it was all game over. Very simple. Like, these grandmasters make these things very easy. Like, they beat other grandmasters like it's nothing. But for some reason, all you players who's trying to get better, like, it's good to view a game. You understand all the moves, But then when you play your own game, it's like, dude, what am I doing? Why can't I be the grandmaster like that? Like, play like that against me. I want to find the rook takes on G7 sacrifice. Yeah, that was a good win. That was a really good win. Man, make sure that you like the video, subscribe. You know, we celebrate after we win. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to reward ourselves if we reach a certain ELO goal too. Keep on fighting till the end, staying focused in chess and in real life too. I will see you next time. And can you watch another video? Like there's probably another video floating around on the screen somewhere that you can watch that is recommended, geared towards you, my viewer.